As federal government lifts restrictions on markets and stores, Air France, Lufthansa, KLM and other airlines bad. Central Bank of Nigeria sells about $500 million to foreign investors. Plus, global food prices rise in August for third consecutive month. The program is Business Express on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and we're reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Muplang Dakok. It's so good to know you're always tuned to Business Express. A British High Court has awarded Nigeria more time to appeal a $10 billion arbitration case with the company Process and Industrial Development PID over a 3-year judgment that has been accruing interest. Delivering his judgment, Ross Cranton, a judge of the Business and Property Courts of England and Wales, granted Nigeria's application for an extension of time and relief from sanctions. The Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, in a reaction, said the Buhari administration, having inherited the dispute from the previous administration, only recently uncovered evidence that the GSPA was a sham commercial deal designed to fail from the start, and that its subsequent arbitral award was based on fraud and corruption. Nigeria will now proceed to a full trial of the issue, where her substantive application to finally set the award will be heard. As international flights resume in the country, 10 airlines, including Air France and KLM, will not fly into Nigeria. Aviation Minister Hadis Rika said this while briefing members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 in Abuja.
Number one, Air France is not approved. Now the reason for Air France is that tourist visas holders are not allowed entry. KLM not approved for the same reason as Air France.
He says 14 airlines, including Air Peace, British Airways, Emirates and Delta Airlines, however, got the nod to fly in and out of Nigeria. Now the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 says all restrictions on markets and commercial stores have been lifted. PTF National Coordinator Dr. Sani Aliu, who stated this in Abuja, noted that the federal government approved the reopening of cinemas, gyms, amusement parks, and outdoor event centers, but the facilities can only operate at half capacity to minimize risk posed by the coronavirus pandemic. In terms of communal commercial spaces, including markets, the national coordinator says that they are removing all restrictions on opening days and limits on stores, but store owners must take responsibility by abiding with non-pharmaceutical interventions and policies to safeguard their staff and patrons of their facilities. Meanwhile, the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Timi Pre Silva, has urged Nigerians not to politicize the deregulation of the downstream subsector of the industry. Silva, who calls for understanding, says the temporary hardship from the price hike, which is a consequence of market forces, will ease off compared to the benefits that Nigerians will soon experience. Lydia Sampson reports.
Price fluctuation is the normal in a deregulated oil and gas sector. This is because in reaction to the dictates of demand and supply, prices may rise or fall. Ironically, With the rise comes inherent difficulties, which experts are quick to acknowledge are only temporary.
You all know Mr. President's alignment with the position of the poor people in Nigeria. He has always been on the side of the poor people. And left to Mr. President, I am very certain that he will never have increased pump price. But for this to happen, we must understand that this must be an inevitable policy direction, especially at this time of COVID-19. COVID-19 saw oil prices at the zero zone, something that has never happened before, at the negative zone.
The minister said already plans are underway for all NNPC retail stations to go beyond selling of petrol to alternatives like diesel and other products to ease the harsh impact. He said as part of efforts at engagement, the ministry has set up a complaint box for dissatisfied customers to drop complaints.
Dayabu Yusuf Garga, second Deputy National Chairman of NUPENG, joins me to take a deeper look at developments around the oil market and other effects on the Nigerian public. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you so much for having me this afternoon.
Okay. So the PPMC announced the increase of the pump price of petrol to 151 naira per litre. What's your reaction to this development?
Well, basically my reaction would have been, how do we compare civil servant take-home pay with the rise in the petroleum product? Mm-hmm. And if we also don't get the right price for the petroleum product, we'll continue to be where we are without making any headway. Okay. Because the 4 refineries we have in the country, they are still performing below average. And we need to have more as at this time. But because the waste over time through subsidy payment would have developed the sector more than what we have today. So all this money that has been expended on subsidy would have been used to develop other sectors of the economy. The infrastructure is in decay, power sector, nothing to write home about. But the present administration is trying to ensure that we have stability in the system. And some people are saying it is complete deregulation. I don't see it that way because it is not a complete removal of subsidy. Okay. Once subsidy is fully removed, government will have no business putting price or reducing price. They allow the forces of the market to determine what to be sold at what price.
But we are told that it is the forces of the market that is determining the price.
Then government should off stand completely for saying we are increasing or decreasing. Let the market determine what do they do. In diesel for more than how many years now? The prices determine itself. You go to this police station, you get diesel at 120, you go there, it's less than 100, go there, it's 230. So the forces of the market determines, the forces of supply and demand determine the price. So government would have no business even fixing or reducing prices of any petrol product if subsidy is fully removed. So I want to believe that there's still some element of subsidy in the system. But the expert will tell us why you say you remove subsidy and you are still again fixing price for the petroleum product.
So at the end of the day, are you saying fuel price increase or deregulation?
What I'm saying, if we are for deregulation, government should come out fully to say these products have been fully deregulated. Okay. So that they will just obvious, and what they do is to monitor quality control so that adulterated products are not being introduced into the market. Okay. That's when we have full deregulation. But if government is controlling, you cannot be regulating and then you say you're deregulating. It's somehow, I don't know what will explain that situation.
All right, so what are the implications of the happenings now for the industry workers? You are a member of NUPENG, so what's happening to demand and supply given the developments?
Well, the demands and supply, as I said earlier, it determines our capacity in refining petroleum products. Okay. Since we still import, I'm not sure if we have completely stopped importation of refined petroleum products. Okay. And we cannot stop importation until we have workable refineries across the country. The four are not even enough, even though they are even working below minimum. So what I'm saying is, until and unless we have enough refining capacity, we have the modular, Dangote is coming up, Boa have just announced recently, I think this will sum up to now give us enough capacity to refine and even export part of the refined petroleum products.
Okay, you mentioned the Dangote refinery, the Boa, and so on. I was going to ask you that question as regards to that. So when they fully come in, what do you see happening to oil refining and distribution across the country?
I think our capacity to refine enough and even export excess will be the end result when these two or more come on board to refine petroleum products in Nigeria. Whatever we're exporting the excess of crude oil, but we have enough for local consumption and even export excess. It then means that importation will stop. Relying on importing refined petroleum will stop automatically once we have enough capacity to refine the product within the country.
So do you think that when that happens, this cry by Nigerians of the increase in pump price of petrol will come down?
Even if it doesn't come down, but the fact that we have it available at any point in time. If you recall, 10, 15 years back, when you even forget where you park your car on the queue in a filling station. We don't want to go back to that era. Okay. Thank God in this government, there's nothing like fuel shortages, and until we take a decisive step to continue to sustain this tempo, we'll still go back to where we are coming from, dark days of long queues, people's cars have been even stolen the queues of filling stations. So once we have enough refined petroleum product, then there will be no scarcity again, and we'll say bye-bye to scarcity.
Okay. The lockdown has been largely eased. Just yesterday, a third phase of the ease of the lockdown was announced again. So with the ease of the lockdown, how is your association handling movement of petroleum products across the country, or do you still have other challenges?
Well, the challenges we have affects everybody because it's that of security, that of bad road, and in fact, until we're able to manage decisively the security situation, because people trucks are being hijacked, the product will be stolen, in some cases drivers are killed. So these are issues, and it is because of the bad road we have across the country, not especially whether south or north, we have bad road, the road are in decay. So until we have good road in this country, challenges in the oil and gas industry, particularly in the distribution chain, will never end just like that. So we still have challenges. Government have to concentrate on ensuring that our roads are made motorable.
Okay. And just recently, the NNPC announced that it has discovered hydrocarbon in Wase and Kanam of Plateau State, where you're from. Can you tell us how far so far?
Well, the subsidiaries of NNPC, IDSL are still working there trying to determine if the quantity they discover is of commercial quantity or not. Because if government is going into work like this, they need to determine how much are we going to expend and what are we going to get in return. So it's the commercial quantity deposit that they are now trying to determine. So they're still doing the work to ensure that what they have there in Kanam and Wase is of commercial quantity that government will begin to pump money within available resources. But the work is ongoing right now.
Okay.
Yes.
So what do you see happening to oil prices at the end of the third quarter, which we're in now, and then for the rest of the year?
Well, once we're out of this pandemic of the COVID-19, I'm sure businesses will open. We are gradually opening. People have suffered due to this lockdown. It has affected almost every sector of the business, globally, not only in Nigeria. Airlines are just coming on board, means of transportation, the tourism industry, everywhere we're at a standstill. People cannot go to market, people cannot even go to farm freely. So I'm sure by the end of this quarter, the last quarter of this year, I'm sure with easing of the lockdown and maybe COVID-19 is getting control, we're giving drugs, I think everybody will be at ease to do his business the way he wants it.
Okay. So let's talk about your association. Many people think that Nupeng is almost synonymous with strike action, and they think that the strike actions are all too often. Why do you always withdraw your services so easily?
I think it will not be fair for anybody to, at this material time, to accuse Nupeng of going on strike. It was some reasons before, because of government actions, or particularly on casualization, on some other malpractices in the oil and gas industry. But all these are now being addressed at the round table. I'm sure for a very long time now, you never hear any strike. There may be warning, there may be 3 days, 4 days warning that, look, if you don't do this, and government are proactive to call for a meeting, and it's being resolved. The incessant strike that people complain about, I think, is no longer on the table. Nobody can right now accuse Nupeng of going on strike. So because there's understanding. Before, maybe during military regime, they don't believe in dialogue, only giving orders, obey before complain. So Nupeng also have to use his own military might to face military gun in the barrack. But now I think there is discussion ongoing on any matter, and it will be resolved. Reason will prevail,
okay,
and there will be
but
discussion.
you know that usually when you withdraw your services, there's hardship for Nigerians. How do you normally feel when Nigerians are passing through all these difficulties?
Members of NOPEN are also Nigerians. Whatever difficulties anybody is facing in this country, members of it also are also feeling the same difficulty. But when it becomes necessary to push for a point, but if one government have that understanding, yes, you have a point, let's come and defend your point, there will be no need for going on strike, because all NOPEN members are part of the citizens of this country, and they go through the difficulties everybody is facing. But if your members are being marginalized, are being looked down upon, look at multinational oil companies. How can you bring a driver from foreign land to come and say you are bringing expatriates to come and drive Caterpillar when we have excess of them in this country? So these are some of the issues that NOPEN stands to fight against. So I want to believe that everything is being corrected now.
Okay. Before I let you go, what do you think Nigeria needs to do in order to improve the business of oil and gas in Nigeria? Production, distribution, and so on.
What government needs to do perhaps is to first ensure that we have correct trail line that can help in transporting product from the source to the point of need. Roads are also well maintained, new ones constructed, because bad roads is associated with problem having accidents here and there. But once we have good road, I'm sure the accident will reduce, and the train also will carry a bulk sum of quantity of this product to the hinterland, where there will be less vehicular movement on the road. When we have train connecting maybe Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, Lagos to Kano, Sokoto, and the rest of them, there will be ease of traffic on the highway. And even damaging the road will also reduce, I think, drastically. So people will enjoy distribution of petroleum products.
All right. Thank you very much. I hope we get to that point very soon.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, I've been speaking to Dayabu Garga. He is the second Deputy National Chairman of NUPENG. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Moving on, gold prices rose on Friday as a slightly weaker US dollar and a pullback in global equities lifted demand for the safe haven metal, while investors awaited the release of US non-farm payrolls data for August. And on the currency market, the dollar steadied against major currencies on Friday as traders await key U.S. jobs data that may cast doubt on the strength of economic recovery from the coronavirus outbreak. Let's see the market. On the capital market, transactions this Friday continued the upward trend as the market gained slightly at noon. At the close of Friday, the all-share index added 0.37% to close at 25,605.64 points, while market capitalization closed at 13.789 trillion naira. 419 million shares valued at 3.787 billion naira were traded in 4,152 deals. Lasaco, Zenith Bank and Access Bank were the most active equities for the day. And on the global scene, stocks in Asia Pacific fell in Friday trade following sharp declines on Wall Street overnight. Over to Bosede Abel for details.
Early trading in the fourth day of September saw European stocks advanced, rebounding from the previous session's losses caused by Wall Street's tech sell-off, with banks powering the major indices into positive territory. Asia stocks were lower, following Wall Street's sharp declines overnight. Shanghai Composite dropped 0.87% to approximately 3,355.37. Hang Seng Index slipped 1.25% to end its trading day at 24,695.45, and Nikkei also declined 1.11% to close at 23,205.43. U.S. stock futures bounced a bit following a big tech-fueled sell-off. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures added 0.5%. The move implied an opening gain of 217 points. The S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq Composite futures also posted gains. Most Africa stocks opened positive, with Namibia's overall index, Nairobi's all-share, and Ghana's GSA Composite posting gains.
The meter manufacturers in the country say Nigeria may lose over $600 million to capital flight in favor of China, in addition to hurting the local content pursuit with the recent presidential approval to defer for 1 year. The 35% import tax is on 3 million prepaid electricity meters, which are to be imported into the country. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria said the good intention of the CBN is unfriendly to the survival of many manufacturers who may not be involved in any trade malpractice. And this is where we end this episode of the program. Don't forget you can access this and all previous episodes on YouTube. And you can also communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is at NTA News Now. The hashtag is BizX. We value your feedback, so join us again on Monday at 3 p.m. for another package. And as we continue to fight COVID-19, remember to always obey the set-down guidelines. I am Muplang Dakok.